You talked about the media for a second, and when I was doing research, I was like, there's this great Silicon Valley post that's called like the hands of time of social media or of media in Silicon Valley. It's like it starts at noon, and it's like you're born, nobody's ever heard of you. Then at 1, you're like emerging. At 3, you're like the star. Everybody loves you, and it like goes, and then it cycles all the way back to midnight, and it's like you're evil. You're ruining society, and you like destroy democracy and whatever else. And this happens with every hot company and every hot founder, whatever. And when I was looking at your media coverage to do research, it's all like, this is the boy wonder. He's 19 years old. He's making virtual reality real. He's doing this out of his garage in his house, whatever.
Yep.
And then it turns into like, this guy is like, the MAGA super evil guy. He's getting fired by Facebook. And then it's like the defense stuff. So you've seen kind of both sides of the media machine. Did that make you kind of jaded? Like, where do you trust the media today? And like, how do you think about, the media?
Well, there's an interesting quote that people often misuse from the Nolan Batman movies. You either die a hero or see yourself live long enough to become the villain. And a lot of people misunderstand that. They think that it means you start out as a hero and then eventually descend into being, a bad guy, and they look at Harvey Dent and they think that's the moral, but that's not what Harvey Dent was saying. Harvey Dent had actually always been a kind of crooked, power-seeking political type. What he was saying is that he had always been the same person fighting for the same ideals, and that he just lived long enough to see the world change around him, so that people started saying that what he was a villain. He didn't say that you become the villain. You live to see yourself become the villain in the eyes of everyone else. And I feel like I've definitely been through that a little bit. I mean, it's worth noting, I'm not inclined to dislike the media naturally. A lot of people assume that must be the case. I don't know if you know this. I was a journalism major at Cal State Long Beach. I was actually the online editor of the school paper, the Daily 49er. So I by no means, there was a time where I thought I was going to go into a career in tech journalism. And so I never really had any issues with it. I thought it was a very honorable thing to do, to go out and be the guy who digs and gets the truth and lets people know what's going on that they otherwise would not have the ability or the time to suss out themselves. And then unfortunately, I've had quite a few experiences with the media. It's like, do I trust the media? It's like, well, I mean, I've had like literally dozens of major outlets post literally fabricated quotes from me, literally like things that never happened. They said, we did all these terrible things that just never even happened, and then refused to correct them for years on end. So it's one of those people like, oh, Palmer, why do you attack the media? It's like, I don't know, like there's not any real way to get around this. I mean, like, we're not talking about tiny outlets. Like the New York Times posted a quote from me that I literally never said. And I told them like, hey, you said that I said this. I never said that. They said, well, it's more or less what you said. We don't think the meaning is different. And I was like, yeah, but your ethics guide, I know what it is. I was taught the New York Times style guide when I was in journalism school. It doesn't say you get to quote me and paraphrase me and you think that it doesn't mean anything different. And then, of course, everyone requotes their fake quote.
You're like, I don't think a quote means what you think it means. You're like, those like, those little signs in the paper that say it's a quote, that means something different than what you guys are saying.
Well, I explained to them, I said, your quote from me is literally missing 6 of the words that I said, but you have it in quotes with a period. And I never said that. And it was actually, there was no period because it was part of a longer run-on argument I was making that did not even have a period there. And they're like, oh, well, we don't think it really changes the meaning. So just, without belaboring the point, I think you can't trust the media to do the right thing. And if you do, you're probably going to get burned at some point. It worked for me for a while until it didn't.